So our next category is favorite new character. And I'm really curious to see what yours is because of the debate, so let's see.
It wasn't a debate. I just had a brain fart.
Yeah. It's not a surprise.
Can't read it. It's Kara from the Tomorrow People.
Oh.
Wait, I didn't see yours. Oh, duh. Do you want to elaborate, or should we just point them back to the Sleepy Hollow discussion?
No, I actually have things to say, but
okay.
I'm actually fascinated that
Why?
that's who, because if I had to guess 10 guesses, I would not have guessed her, and that's not anything bad about her character. I think she's developed something really interesting, but like, why I was surprised by your Trophy Wife thing was because I thought someone from Trophy Wife would be one of your characters, and you were like, no, not any of them. I'm like, okay.
Well, I did come close to picking one of the ones from Trophy Wife, but the reason that I picked Kara was, it goes back to something that I wrote about a few months ago, just how we see all of these superhero or fantastical or genre stories where there's always the male lead. Like, there's always the coming of age kid, like, for example, on Tomorrow People, Steven's the one that is the breakout and the one that we're tracking.
Right.
And he's coming into his powers, and he's got all these burdens and whatever, and he's kicking ass, but he's also kind of flawed and damaged and learning as he goes. Same with Arrow, same with all these Supernatural, all these shows. Even to an extent, Sleepy Hollow, the way that Ichabod had to come into our world and deal with not knowing where his wife is, and then learning where she is and not being able to get to her. And yet, when we have young adult books, they're always women, and I've written about why doesn't that not translate on TV? Nikita, they tried desperately. I loved that show. I thought Maggie Q was amazing. I think Kara is the closest thing we have to a Nikita, to that kind of like, she's flawed, but she's still really strong, and she still can kick ass, and she still has a journey to go on. Yes, she's not the lead of the show, but I find her fascinating to watch. The character story, I also think Peyton does an amazing job with her, and I think that some of what they've been able to do with the character is because of who they have in the role. And I think that that's really, we've seen her grow because of that. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more of like, I'm just so happy to finally have one of these people reflecting, like, that I want to spotlight her, but also I'm glad that they saw the opportunity that they had and they didn't squander it. I think a lot of shows have potential, but they don't necessarily use it, or they don't necessarily want to use it. I mean, let's face it, there's still, in this genre world, it's really male-driven writer's room, and so they're going to write male characters because they're going to connect more that way, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And especially, there's always talk about trying to bring in the male audience to shows that, like a network like CW is a more female-driven network. I get why they're constantly trying to bring in these male characters, but I like the fact that someone like Kara is there kind of doing this work in the background. They're not trying to like force an agenda down your throat, but I think she's really an interesting like psychological character study. And I will just say that anytime she like gets to beat up someone on that show, I get really excited, because then I'm like, yeah, I could totally I couldn't do that, but I could, but I want to, because there's some.
I buy the wanting to, not the able to.
Well, I mean, I can't teleport, so yeah, right. And I can't read people's minds. But no, I just think that they've done a really good job with her. I think that she's come really far from where we met her in the pilot.
Yeah.
We thought maybe she was just going to be this device for this love triangle,
right.
and that's not a good place to be for a character. And then we got to see, especially not to spoil anything, but in the return episode, that they bring her a little bit more front and center, and I'm really excited about what that's going to do for her character. So,
yeah. Well, and I was thinking about other characters before deciding on Ichabod, because I felt like that was the easy answer for me, because again, I'm not subtle, shy, or quiet about my love for Sleepy Hollow. And there was a couple that I thought about, but for me, Ichabod. And again, part of it is Tom, because if you had any other actor, like there was a talk about, apparently Carl Urban was up for this role, like he almost had this role, and I literally sat there for 2 minutes, and I'm like, Carl is a fantastic actor. I think he's doing a great job as Kennex on Almost Human, and I can't really imagine anyone else in that role. But I was trying to think of what his take of Ichabod would be like, and I just could not at all fathom that, and that I think is a testament to Tom and what he's been able to do with this role, because how many actors could actually pull off a sincere
Right.
conversation with a non-star
Right.
person? Like, Yolanda. Like, I'm still laughing about that moment and his just genuine sincerity. How many months later? Like, you know, the Starbucks and the tax and all and the internet, all these lines, if they weren't delivered in a genuine way, if they they don't overdo them either, which I think is good, it's just natural enough for it to be like, yeah, of course to be flummoxed by this, versus having every single thing in the world flummoxed, which
Right.
would also be possible. But I mean, Ichabod is, there's such a, he's so tortured, and it's so fascinating to see him having to deal with that kind of underlying just grief. Like, there's, because he's lost everything, and he just keeps finding out that he's lost more and
Right.
more, and so much more of his world is not what he thought it was, on top of trying to deal with the realities of 2013/2014.
Right.
So it's just such a character really unlike anything else on television, and I'm curious to see, you know, several years down the line, assuming this gets 5-6 seasons, what that Ichabod looks like versus what he looks like now, because you can't have him assimilate too much, but at the same
Right.
time he can't still be flummoxed by Starbucks.
Right,
So
but
there's
what I do like too, I mean, it is a testament to Tom, but I do think it's also a testament to the writers, because they're not overdoing that stuff right
Yeah.
now. They could make him kind of slapstick, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're making him very believable, where it's like a moment here or there, something will catch his attention and he'll bring it up, and it'll be a cute little moment of levity. But that's it. Like, when he starts to adapt, and when he starts to realize he's adapting, and then as our world is changing, and he's not even noticing the changes because he's just part of it now, like, that should be really, really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I like that character too, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't have the immense love. What'd you call it? Crazy?
Crazy Pants Crazy.
Right. I definitely don't have as much attachment.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's an interesting thing when I feel like genre shows are kind of ripe for that kind of interest. Like, I was thinking about like Dorian, which, you know, Almost Human Fox has done a lot of stuff with, but Michael Ealy being
Yes.
Dorian has been one of the through lines that's so
Yeah.
fascinating. Like, I feel like genre shows, as much as they're overlooked by awards, often give actors the most rich amount of potential for characters. I mean, as much fun as doctor and lawyer and cop shows can be for us to watch, a lot of times there's only so far you can go in that
Yeah.
box for acting. So I
Yeah.
feel like genre shows kind of give actors opportunities that award shows just don't acknowledge.
Well, no, because it's not, you know, if it's one episode here or there,
Yeah.
where they get to go outside the box and do something. Yeah.
It's a shame they don't actually get to watch TV. Anyway.